Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to be reviewing the special edition of Planet of Fire, which I just unboxed not long ago and sat down and watched. I'd seen the original version before. One of my patrons, Alice, had wanted me to watch it, and I enjoyed it. I liked the regular edition. I thought it was a good story. I mean, not saying I thought it was a classic, but it was a nice, enjoyable story. Not one I'd be like, this is one of the first classic Doctor Who stories you need to see. But I did enjoy my watch through. And I'd talked on the channel before about how I'd like to see the special edition sometime. One, to be able to compare them. Two, I tend to like updated effects for classic Who stories usually. Almost every time, actually. I can only think of one instance when I preferred the original effects overall, and that was Planet of the Daleks. Other than that, I always prefer updated effects. So, this is good for Alice, if she wants to know my opinion of the special edition. But I definitely want to give a shout out to Simon as well for sending this. Simon sent this and The Awakening, which I'll be watching and reviewing soon. This is interesting, mentioning that I usually prefer the updated version and that only Planet of the Daleks did I prefer the original version, because I think this one I prefer the original version. The special edition, if I had to sum it up in one word, it would be unnecessary. Having watched it, it just feels so unnecessary. I don't mind the editing it down into movie length, because to me that's just an omnibus version. We get omnibus version of a lot of classic stories like Day of the Daleks and the Sea Devils in the Season 9 box set. So I never mind when Doctor Who does omnibus versions. Genesis of the Daleks, Enlightenment, all of that. And to be honest, the edited down version of it here moves around well. I don't have a good enough memory. I can spot every little thing that was cut. Plus, I'd only watched the original version once. So I can't sit there and go, oh, this is missing, this is missing. The one thing I did notice was missing was the friction between the Doctor and Turlough. Because Turlough is that kind of companion. You never quite know if you can fully 100% trust him. And there is definitely some friction between them, and this one with the Doctor at one point telling Turlough, if you're not being completely straight with me right now, we're through. And that is cut out, so you never really get that. There's you get this sense of a much more trust and camaraderie in the episode that's not there in the original version. Other than that, I don't really notice what all's cut out. But for what it is, just going by the length of the special edition, it moves along at a very good pace. It never really slows down. It never drags at all, because so much of it is pretty cut out. The special edition runs at about 1 hour and 6 minutes, so there's quite a bit trimmed out. Probably about 20 minutes worth, I'm guessing. So I do like the pacing. I did enjoy the pacing of it. There's always stuff going on. I've talked before about liking the guest cast for the most part. They might not be the most memorable, but I do like them. The story itself, the bit about the Master accidentally shrinking himself, building a new tissue compression eliminator, is pretty silly. It's a bit naff. I guess it could happen, but as genius as the Master is, he can destroy Gallifrey, apparently. He accidentally shrunk himself building. That's silly. That's just silly. And then him having to use Chameleon to, I guess on paper that's a neat idea of him basically remote controlling Chameleon. But one, I don't like Chameleon. I've never seen King's Demons, but I don't like Chameleon. I don't like the idea of Chameleon. I don't like the design of Chameleon, the execution of Chameleon. I don't like Chameleon. I never quite buy that. It's a good exit for Turlough. Mark gets a lot to do in this episode. It's a great send-off for him. I like that. It's a good introduction for Perry. And it's nice to see a little bit more of Perry and Five together. I mentioned that in my original review for this story, having only seen them in Cage, because that's the only other one they're in. It's nice to get a little bit more time with Five and Perry together, even though we don't get a whole lot of them together here. The effects. It depends. I adjusted to the effects over the course of the story. The part where they're outside and it has that kind of red haze with the kind of smoke going up is fine. I don't mind it. It's a little jarring when it goes from being out in the red haze to being in a studio shot when they're inside a building or something. And that happens a lot. That's a little jarring. But the effect itself is fine. Now, shots when you see characters walking right next to flames and not reacting to it at all, that's weird. Especially like Perry. She's walking right next to something and there's a lot of fire here in the special edition. She just bebops along beside it or eases along beside it. There's no way. There's no way you're going to be, oh, look, fire, and just be, it's cool. You're going to be like me and you're going to be like, holy crap, that's fire. Yeah, let me stand over here. You know, I'd be more worried about suddenly bursting into flames and suddenly having to be called Darth Vader. I guarantee you, if Anakin Skywalker was on that planet and he saw the fire, he'd be like, no. So that doesn't really work. Plus, the fire just never looks that convincing, to be honest. But the actual red haze part is fine. Although there's one part when Perry's running to the ship when the fire stuff's not added in. It looks like the original version. That's a little weird. Now, the fire stuff, especially at the end of the story when all the eruptions are going on, definitely makes more sense. The red and the hazy smoke, because, you know, the planet's becoming unstable. The special edition there makes sense. I like that. The bit with the volcano, actually having a volcano now with the red flames and the blue flames, works pretty well. The biggest problem is the effects at the beginning, like the ship crashing, which I don't think that scene's in the original, the ship crashing, is it? I don't remember that scene in the original. The CGI for that looks bad. Like bad. I get the special edition was done in like 2010, and they were doing a lot of special editions with updated effects right around then. Enlightenment, this, Day of the Daleks, Invisible Enemy, all of that, we're kind of getting these right around there. That was kind of a craze at the time. Let's update Classic Who with some, you know, updated effects, which most of the time for me works. I like the updated effects for Invisible Enemy and Day of the Daleks. And Enlightenment. Enlightenment sometimes look a little cheesy, but the actual camera work they do there gives it some dynamic shots. I tend to like the updated effects in Enlightenment for the dynamic scale of the shots more so than the actual way they look. But here, with the ship crashing, it just looks like bad CGI. Like 90s dated CGI, even though it's from 2010. And then we get a lot of the effects heavy stuff on the planet right afterwards too, toward the beginning of the story with flames going up everywhere. And the guy who's the leader with the mark on his arm, that's Turlough's brother, and the older guy with the mustache sitting there talking right next to a flame that's on, you know, a rock that's on fire. Back to the fire part. And they're just standing next to it like, flame right here. I'd be more worried about my outfit, you know, catching on fire. But yeah, I could see someone watching this for the first time and being put off by the first 10 minutes because the effects look so bad. So bad. Like, I'm much more forgiving of Classic Who's effects because they're practical effects and it's a classic Doctor Who budget. For me, practical effects don't age as badly as bad CGI. Like Mortal Kombat Annihilation Animalities, bad CGI. That bad. Oh, my sheep. Where did that come from? I'm very tired. It's bad CGI, Wilbur. I guess I'm a horse. But yeah, that CGI is absolutely... And it just doesn't look like it belongs there. Now, there are a few things in the special edition I like. You know Prowl likes him some updated laser effects. And so some of the laser effects are nice. Anytime they use the tissue compressor to shrink spacesuits, or when the Doctor destroys Chameleon, those look nice. And the transitions, like when Chameleon's changing forms, those look nice. I like some of those. The widescreen, it's kind of weird watching Classic Who in widescreen. But it wasn't bad. Like, you know, just... Yeah, if I had them if I had the 4:3 version and the widescreen next to each other, comparing them, which I know you can find on YouTube, then I might be a little, oh, they cut this out, I don't like that. But just watching it for itself, it's fine. It's fine. It's a kind of a novelty watching Classic Who without, you know, the black bars, I guess. So it was fine. Much like they did with Enlightenment. It was fine. It didn't bother me. It's just kind of is. Well, it is what it is. Overall, though, when it boils down to it, this special edition just seems so unnecessary. Again, I like the pacing of what's basically an omnibus version, but the updated effects for the most part. It seems like a story that didn't need it. I get because it's supposed to be a planet of fire, but classic Who, the title doesn't always have to make sense. I mean, Planet of Evil doesn't really live up to the title, Planet of Evil. And I like Planet of Evil, but the title Planet of Evil doesn't really make a lot of sense when you think about it. It doesn't have to be, the Planet of Fire doesn't have to have flames all around it. It still fits in the story of an unstable planet that's becoming more unstable. You don't need all of the going on. At the end of the day, it was still a good watch. I liked it. Again, I have a lot of criticisms of some of the updated effects. A few of them I liked, most of them I didn't. And between the two, I prefer the original version, which is probably what I'll watch primarily when I go back to visit this story. So Planet of Fire, the special edition. What do you think of it? Comment down below and let me know. Other things to do. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button. We did just recently pass 900 subscribers, so we are well on our way to 1,000, which is my goal for the end of 2023, to hit 1,000 subscribers. So much I can do with the channel when I hit 1,000 subscribers that I'm looking forward to doing. So if you enjoy my content and haven't subscribed yet, I would appreciate you clicking that subscribe button. That helps me out, and I certainly appreciate it. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me that way. That's been a big help recently, actually. There's a link to that down in the description below. I have several of my top tier patrons I want to thank. Unknown289, Stephen Crane, Dr. Finn Perkins, and Colin Coney. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons very, very much. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me, just as this was sent to me by one of my subscribers, Simon, which I really appreciate. You can check that out. There's also a link to my Amazon wish list as well. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.